If you think all small boats are built the same, they're not. Some were designed to survive decades offshore, heavy layups, real bulkheads, systems that age well. And after 60, that difference matters more than ever, because it's not just about fitting into a smaller space. It's about trusting the hull beneath you, year after year. Today we're looking at 5 small Liveaboard sailboats that were built differently, solid enough offshore, balanced enough to live aboard long-term. Let's start with one that surprises a lot of people, the Seawward 25. Introduced in 1984 by Yachts, it was designed as a trailerable cruiser capable of real coastal sailing without demanding constant physical effort. At nearly 27 feet overall, just over 8 feet of beam, and displacing around 3,600 pounds, it strikes a practical balance, large enough to live aboard, small enough to manage alone, even after 60. Above, the fractional sloop rig keeps sail handling simple. One headsail, fewer lines, less strain. In 8 to 10 knots of wind, Seawward 25 balances comfortably under full main and a 135% Genoa, with a light, steady helm that feels cooperative rather than heavy. Underwater, its shoal keel draws roughly 25 inches, allowing access to shallow anchorages that deeper cruisers often avoid. After 1989, Hake refined the keel with a small wing, improving lift and reducing leeway while preserving that shallow draft advantage. A sailor who decided to downsize his boat using the Seawward 25 shared his experience. At age 72, I found I could not safely single-hand the larger boat. The Seawward was the best choice for me and my wife. Compared to heavier pocket cruisers like the Dana 24, nearly twice the weight, it feels more responsive in light air. It asks one thing above all: the wisdom to reef early and reef on time. Below deck, the layout favors practicality over luxury. V-berth forward, settee, aft berth, 2-burner stove, about 21 gallons of water, and an optional hot and cold shower. Not indulgent, but workable for weeks of coastal living. And for many sailors over 60, that balance between capability and manageability is precisely the point. If you've sailed or lived aboard a Seawward 25, share your experience in the comments. What stood out to you most? And if small, well-built cruising boats like this speak to you, consider subscribing. There's more ahead. The next is the Tartan 27, one of the earliest production fiberglass sailboats built in the United States, first introduced around 1960. More than 700 hulls were produced, and that longevity alone says something. The Tartan 27 earned a reputation among serious sailors who valued stability, conservative construction, and what many describe as a big boat feel in a small package. At 27 feet overall, with a displacement of roughly 7,400 pounds and about a 42% ballast ratio, it is heavy for its size. The thick fiberglass laminate and robust scantlings were ahead of many early ones, giving it a durability that has allowed countless examples to keep sailing for decades later. Its short overhangs, shoal draft full keel with centerboard, and elegant sheer line give it unmistakably classic proportions. It is not flashy. It is quietly beautiful. And that aesthetic, combined with solid engineering, has helped it retain long-term value even as modern lightweight designs come and go. Below deck, the space feels purposeful and warm. With nearly 5 feet 11 inches of headroom, a V-berth forward, settees, a functional galley, and an enclosed head, it offers surprising livability for extended stays. A sailor who called it home for years once said, I loved living aboard my comfy and solid 1960s Tartan 27 sloop. Under sail, it is not fast in light air. But when the breeze freshens, it settles in, balanced, predictable, dry in the cockpit. For sailors over 60, that steady, forgiving motion matters far more than speed. The Tartan 27 is a true classic, balanced, solid, and timeless. It may not shine in light winds like modern designs, but its heavy-weather confidence and remarkable space for a 27-footer are what many sailors value for the long run. Number 3 is the Morris Francis 26, often known in the U.S., a Chuck Payne design from 1975 that quietly earned a global reputation. At just 26 feet overall, it doesn't look like a world cruiser. But with a ballast ratio of roughly 51%, it carries the kind of stability usually found in much larger boats. Its capsize screening around 1.73 tell the same story. This is a small hull with a big boat temperament. The long keel and attached rudder give it steady tracking and a slow, predictable motion at sea. It is not quick in light air. With a modest sail area of around 335 square feet, Morris Francis 26 was never meant to race. But in building breeze and uneven chop, it settles in rather than fights the water. Many examples have crossed the Atlantic, cruised New Zealand, or spent decades doing serious coastal miles. For sailors over 60, that temperament matters more than speed. Docking requires patience. Long keels always do, but under sail, it balances beautifully. Reef early, and it rewards you with calm, controlled progress. Systems are simple. Construction for Morris yachts in Maine is famously robust, with thick fiberglass layup and conservative engineering. Step inside, it surprises again. Nearly 6 feet of headroom, a proper V-berth, convertible settees, an enclosed head, functional galley. Warm teak interior. Not flashy, but deeply livable for a couple. It is not trailerable. It is not ultra-shallow. And it is rarely cheap. But for a sailor seeking something made to last forever, the Francis 26 feels less like a compromise, and more like a lifetime companion in a compact form. Number 2 is the Allegro 27, often described simply as cheap and capable. Built in Sweden in the 1970s, it carries the reputation of being solid, sometimes even overbuilt. The fiberglass layup is thick, durable, and, when properly maintained, avoids the crazing and print-through issues seen in lighter boats of the era. Its long keel protects both rudder and hull, while the relatively heavy displacement and high ballast ratio give it a reassuring, planted feel underway. Many are still active, including Baltic crossings and extended offshore passages. At 27 feet LOA with a 9-foot beam, it remains compact enough to manage without drama. Docking a long keel requires patience in tight marinas, but under sail it tracks beautifully. The masthead sloop rig is moderate and straightforward, making it realistic for single-handing or short-handed sailing after 60. Systems are simple. Fewer complications mean fewer maintenance surprises. Look carefully. It feels larger than the numbers suggest. A V-berth forward, convertible settees, and quarter berths allow flexible sleeping arrangements. Teak interior gives it warmth rather than flash. Motion at sea is slow and steady, the kind that reduces fatigue rather than amplifies it. With a capsize screening around 1.9 and a comfort ratio above 20, it isn't fast in a modern sense, but it is forgiving. And for many sailors over 60, forgiveness matters more than speed. If full-time life aboard after 50 is on your mind, There's a detailed breakdown of small sailboats that truly make it practical. You'll find it linked here. To the last one, there is something reassuring about stepping aboard a boat that was never built to impress a marina. That is Northern 29. Yes, it doesn't try to look modern. It was drawn by Sparkman and Stevens in an era when fiberglass was laid thick, ballast was real lead, and hulls were meant to age slowly. You feel that the moment you move forward on deck, solid underfoot, nothing flexing, nothing hurried. At 29 feet, it remains small enough to manage without strain. The masthead rig is simple. The systems are straightforward. Reef early, trim conservatively, and it settles into a steady rhythm. With a comfort ratio of 25.5 and a capsize screening of 1.9. Its motion is deliberate, not quick, not nervous, the kind that doesn't exhaust you after 6 hours at the helm. In an article written about the Northern 29 many years ago, there was a small story, but one that spoke volumes. I first became interested in the Northern 29 when I ran into a gentleman who was in his 6th year of living aboard one with his wife. He had recently returned from a 2-year trip in the Caribbean. Below, it's practical rather than glamorous. A real V-berth, a convertible dinette, a pilot berth for offshore legs. Enough space for 2 people who care more about reliability than square footage. The galley works. The storage is honest. The wood feels warm without pretending to be luxury. It was never a racer in disguise. It was built to endure. And for many sailors over 60, endurance, not speed, is what begins to matter most. Yet all 5 sailboats share something rare today. Solid construction, forgiving manners at sea, and proportions that make sense for real cruising rather than marina display. None of them are the fastest boat in the anchorage. None were designed to chase trends. But each carries the kind of balance, durability, and quiet confidence that becomes more valuable with time. And if the idea of a boat that blends sailing with steady power and becomes easier to manage, over time sounds appealing, another carefully selected list is waiting just here.